Good evening. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the welcome to country. It was fantastic. I really enjoyed that. I also want to acknowledge all the Master Builders members that are in the room tonight. Thank you for coming along. I'm not completely sure whether you're here to listen to what I've got to say or to make sure that I stick to the script for the association, but hopefully you'll enjoy it all the way along. Construction, that's what I'm here to talk to you about today. Construction is the second largest industry in Australia today. It's somewhere north of $200 billion. It moves around year in, year out, but it delivers value of $200 billion right across the country. It's also an employer for more than 1 million Australians and provides more jobs for 18 to 29-year-olds than any other industry in Australia. What we think is really important in terms of our role at Master Builders is construction is also the birthplace of just so many very small, small and medium enterprises, and it provides a pathway for so many Australians to move from life as an employee to life as an entrepreneur. For our industry, one of the absolute key things for us to succeed and for us to continue to provide services is that Australia needs to grow. If you don't have growth in an Australian economy, our industry goes very quickly from construction to a repairs and maintenance activity. And so we're very focused all the time on exactly what growth means for our industry. When you turn to the Northern Territory, we're still very much an emerging economy, and I think everybody in this room would know that. And that means that we have huge deficits in terms of the traditional infrastructure that people take for granted in many parts of Australia. We all know that for many Northern Territorians, all-weather access is still a luxury good. It's not something that you can take for granted. Those huge infrastructure deficits, plus the fact that new investors are invariably pioneering investors, so they need to not only provide their own facilities, but they need to contribute to the great stock of capital in the Territory just to make their projects move forward. That all adds to one simple thing, and that is that we have an oversized construction industry in the Northern Territory in comparison to what you would see in many other parts of Australia. In times when we peak, this industry is worth $9 billion to the Northern Territory economy, when its average is only somewhere between $4 to $4.5 billion. That's the sort of swing that we see as the Northern Territory continues to grow and our industry continues to provide the support to Territorians as they try to turn this place, the Northern Territory, into a mature economy. Our workforce hovers around 12%. It's sometimes a little bit difficult to quantify, but what we always like to say is that there's not one street in the Territory that you go to where you won't find somebody who's working in construction or relying on construction to provide their living. It is just that important. Since the resources boom has started to wind off, it's no surprise to anybody that it's been a painful transition for many people in the Northern Territory connected to construction. The impact's not just directly in terms of the wind back of direct infrastructure investment, but also as people lost confidence in the economy as well, that double whammy has tended to really drive a genuine slowdown right across the sector. Today, turnovers are down by about 40%, though in some parts of the construction sector it's as much as 50%. And this isn't just someone standing up here and saying, I've got a finger in the breeze, I think this is about right. We've done some work to go through the Master Builders Fidelity Fund, which provides builders warranty insurance to every residential project that operates in the Northern Territory, and we've run through the balance sheets and the P&Ls of all the firms registered with that fund, and they're down by 50%. So it really is a significant slowdown at this particular time, and I think it's a wonderful reflection, of the firms that we have, that in those difficult situations, people are still managing to employ and still managing to kick along. But the truth of the matter is we always have a cycle, don't we? That we have our ups and we enjoy those, and we have our downs, and the same sort of thing happens as well. We have done some modelling in terms of where we think our construction sector is right now, and I think on some of the tables tonight you'll see the latest release from Master Builders, which is our forecast on construction activity going forward. If you would like a copy and there isn't a copy there, then please feel free to get in contact with me and I'll be happy to email one through. When I look at where we are now and where we're going in the future, my view and the view of our association is that we're very much at the bottom of the trough, that we've had to swallow a lot of change. It was always coming, we knew it, but it was, something that we had to live with. But today we're just starting to see, we think, the bottom of the trough, and as we look forward in terms of the remainder of the year, we're starting to see greater hope for the opportunities for the construction sector. The Chief Minister, in his presentation, ran through, his views on particular projects, and if you add them together, it's a significant story. We know that not everything comes through as we hope, but I think you can take from that if we look towards the end of this year, we're really going to have a different story for a lot of the construction sector. The government is also working very hard right now to buttress the economy against these headwinds which are starting to hit the industry, and the industry recognises that while the government can't do everything, it's certainly done everything it possibly can to try and support this economy at this particular time. So we're very grateful to the government for what they're doing. But we don't believe that the government can do the heavy lifting for this economy on its own anymore. We absolutely need private investment to come through, or investment to come from outside the territory at least. And the Chief Minister touched on many of those in his presentation tonight. We are particularly focused on defence, and for people who've been close to master builders, it's pretty much defence, 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 because it is. The Chief Minister touched on $1 billion a year for 20 years. That's a lot of Commonwealth Government budget decisions 20 years from now. But it's $8 billion over the first decade. $2 billion of that is in the market right now, and there is more projects to come in the near future. So it is absolutely fundamental to this transition that that construction needs to go through. Of course, the key to this is we have to be successful in winning work. We are private sector organisations, we keep competing in open markets, and the Territory will need to be able to put its best foot forward to pick that up. We've been working very closely with the Federal Defence Minister, with the Commonwealth Government, the NT Government and so forth, and everybody shares that passion. It's about finding the right way to do that, and as well as that, we need to do a lot of work around reform in our own market as well. We also think food and resources are great opportunities, and the Chief Minister ran through those projects, as well as things like the Landbridge Hotel, and then the other thing about Territorians just feeling confident enough to put their hand in their pocket and go after the next lot of opportunities. For us, one of the things that we wanted to touch on today very much was there's a lot of energy goes into the macro discussion, and also a lot of energy goes into describing the next wave of projects that are coming through. So you've got macro and projects about here. But we think there's a bit of a giant gap in the conversation at this particular time, which is the micro discussion around industries, particularly for an emerging economy like the Northern Territory, which is still trying to build those connected businesses that make up an industry. We think there needs to be a lot more discussion around what those industries could be for the Northern Territory. What opportunities do they create? What gaps do they have? What do we need to do to attract the right organisations to come to the Territory? I know that microeconomic discussion today is not that sexy. Most people think what you need to do is just set the right settings and the rest of it will happen. But I think as we move a little forward, we're going to see that microeconomic reform will rise to the surface as people say that we need to have more efficient businesses. And I think as part of that as well, what we're going to see is people starting to talk about how businesses connect up and how industries connect up, how our logistics chains connect up, because that's where we're going to get the gains as we go forward. It is a new normal now, particularly for the Northern Territory. There aren't the 7 or 8 multi-billion-dollar projects that lined up one after the other from 1999 through to the mid-2000s, or 2015 or so. We're really at this point where it's a new normal. We need to do the hard work around industries in particular, seeing where we have our advantages and moving forward. If we can do that, I really think it can make a big difference to where the Northern Territory is, and we'll be returning to levels of growth that we'd all hope. And of course for construction, that's the one thing that we want. We want to get back to the sort of growth that supports an industry and in turn supports Territorians. And so for construction, it's all about growth going forward. I think the Chief Minister tonight painted a pretty good picture of what that might look like, and fingers crossed we get there. Thank you.